Welcome to today's deep dive. Let's start with a number, $860.
Wow.
Right. That is what a commercial AV retailer called HDTVSupply is charging for a single, highly specific piece of metal. It's the VPI RJ45-DIE crimping die.
Which sounds incredibly niche.
It really is. I mean, if you have ever wired a home network, you know a plastic cable crimping tool costs like maybe $15 at a hardware store. So our mission today is unpacking this specific product listing. Why does a metal mold for an internet cable cost almost $1,000?
Yeah, because digging into this one tiny tool exposes the entirely hidden high-stakes mechanics of commercial AV networking. It really completely shatters that DIY mindset we all have.
Exactly. We are just so used to the cheap manual tools we keep in our garages.
Right, we forget what it actually takes to build physical infrastructure that operates on a massive industrial scale.
So to wrap my head around that $860 sticker shock, I was trying to figure out what this die actually does.
Good place to start.
Yeah. It is used to attach internet cables to a heavy-duty shielded plug variant. It's called the RJ45PLG-SF. But this isn't a hand tool where you just squeeze the handles together, you know?
No, definitely not. The listing actually describes it utilizing hydraulic and air compressors to auto-terminate the connection.
Which is wild. We aren't talking about a guy squeezing pliers. We are talking about a machine slamming down with massive mechanical force.
Exactly. And that relentless, repeatable force is exactly what you are paying for here. I mean, a human hand gets tired. The crimp might be slightly crooked on the, say, 50th cable of the day.
Yeah, nobody's grip is perfectly consistent.
Right. But this die is engineered to withstand immense pneumatic pressure. So it delivers the exact same microscopic precision on the first crimp as it does on the 10,000th.
Which really explains the weird mix of details in the listing. Like, half of it reads like a standard corporate brochure. It boasts about a 1-year VPI warranty, free USA shipping, and even a 5% discount for wire transfers.
Which practically screams business-to-business sales.
Exactly. But then it mentions easily changeable molds, which is all about factory floor physics. Like, if a mold wears out, you swap it instantly and keep the assembly line moving.
It basically operates like a printing press for Ethernet cables.
A printing press, yeah. But here is where the listing gets genuinely bizarre. Under the technical details, it proudly states that this piece of metal, this crimping die, ships with the latest firmware.
That is always a funny detail to spot.
Right. I just stared at that line wondering how on earth a chunk of metal requires a software update. I thought, is that just a bizarre copy-paste error by the vendor?
It really looks like an error. But it is actually a fascinating quirk of how these industrial systems are integrated.
Yeah.
The firmware isn't inside the metal die itself.
Oh, okay. So where does it go?
It is for the massive VPI crimp machines that this die locks into. We are talking about heavy equipment pulling up to 90 watts of power, and they cost anywhere between $3,100 and $3,500.
Wow. Okay. That is a serious piece of hardware.
It is. And the software coordinates that immense hydraulic and pneumatic power. It tells the machine exactly how much pressure to apply for this specific mold.
Because if it just guesses, it could destroy the part.
Exactly. If the firmware miscalculates, the machine might apply way too much force and instantly crush the delicate copper pins inside the plastic plug.
So the firmware is basically the brain calculating the force, and the metal die is just the fist.
That is a great way to put it, yeah.
And, when you look at the vendor, HDTVSupply, the stakes for that level of precision become really obvious. They are a 25-year global industry veteran with over 10,000 positive reviews.
Yeah, they definitely aren't selling to someone wiring a small home office.
No, not at all. They build massive modular matrix switchers capable of running up to 160 TVs simultaneously for gigantic sports bars.
Just think about the mechanics of a setup like that. A matrix switcher is the central nervous system of a commercial venue.
Right. It is routing high-definition video to 160 different endpoints all at once.
Exactly. And if a single manual crimp on a heavily shielded cable is loose by just a fraction of a millimeter, the signal drops.
Which, in a packed sports bar during a championship game, a drop signal is definitely not a minor annoyance.
No, it is a catastrophic commercial failure.
The venue demands refunds, the bar loses money, and the AV installer completely loses their reputation. So suddenly, an $860 piece of metal looks like pretty cheap insurance against a total system collapse.
It really reframes how you look at the physical infrastructure around us.
It does. The next time you casually plug an Ethernet cable into your laptop and hear that satisfying little plastic snap, you can appreciate that it wasn't just pinched together by hand.
Right. It took heavy-duty, hydraulic-powered, multi-thousand-dollar machinery to build that tiny connection.
Which actually brings up a fascinating thought to leave you all with. We just decoded how a mechanical cable crimping setup relies entirely on its latest firmware to coordinate physical force.
Yeah. The hardware needs the software to function safely.
Exactly. So as automation gets cheaper and more ubiquitous, how long before every basic physical hand tool we rely on becomes entirely dependent on software just to function?
Like, will your future hammer refuse to hit a nail because it hasn't downloaded the latest impact calibration patch?
That is wild to think about. Now, that is a thought that makes the invisible world of networking feel a whole lot heavier. Catch you on the next deep dive.